Okay, everybody. Hi, this is Ken Renner, real estate broker in North Austin, and I am here with our special guest, Michael Ebert from Austin Landmark Property Services, and also my inventory manager, Chad Hall. He is an agent of mine, has been working with me for a couple of years now, but also I've known him for years. He's bought his first several investment properties and primary residences from me, and he's so much interested in real estate that I decided to encourage him to get his license and then join our team. So you guys if you haven't met Chad, you will. He will be also coming to the Bay Area to do multiple presentations and continue to go to our meet and greet our clients. But we want to talk about a subject today is really super important when it comes to real estate and some of the things that will help optimize your investment over the long haul and protect you and protect your investment. And so, and also some things too that we've learned over the years that work and some things that don't work. And it does take sometimes years of experience to learn the ropes on this. But we're going to start with talking about what the National Association of Realtors, a chief economist, had to say about in this article that was just put out in the NAR magazine. And it's pretty interesting stuff. Let me get my glasses. But so it says serious squeeze on renters. U.S. needs to put attention on rentals and first-time home buyers. So some of the highlights I'm just going to go over on this article is at the beginning it says just as the for sale market is starting to moderate, the rental market is heating up. Rental listings are attracting multiple offers. You and I have never seen that, have we, Michael? Until now, where
not often, no.
So we're seeing multiple offers and bidding wars on our rental properties. And there's a good reason for it. It's so hard to buy a home in Austin. It takes a long time to get it, that they got to live somewhere and they're willing to pay for it. It says right here, this is from the NAR chief economist, rents are set to soar. All right. The reason is twofold. First, the job market is improving, and I'll skip over and there's a 10 million job openings right now. And also many first-time home buyers are priced out of the market. That's it's going to be a big problem of affordability everywhere. This is a national article too. So even near record low interest rates can't compensate. Mortgage rates may further squeeze renters next year. And down here at the bottom it says America needs more homes, both for ownership and for rent. And then the last line is there is a massive housing shortage. All hands must be on deck to get the supply up. So it's an honor for us and our clients who are providing rental housing for this starving rental market, and we're fulfilling a need. So and in turn we prosper because we get good choices of tenants that take care of our property and pay off our mortgages for us. So that's kind of our plan, right? So I want to get in a little bit of history with me and Mike Ebert of Austin Landmark Property Services. I've known they've been in business since 1986 in Austin. Rick Ebert was the former CEO of the company, and they built this into how many properties do you manage now, Mike?
We're over 500. We're about 525 right now.
Okay, so that's a good size, not too big, not too small, and so we're going to talk about the the different types of property managers that are out there and why you want to work with somebody who's got this kind of system and team. Rick Ebert, Mike's dad, was a educator. He wrote all the courses, right? What courses did he write?
That's right. He wrote the classes for the property management classes for the state of Texas. If you want a property management designation from the Texas Association of Realtors, it's going to be written by Rick. Cool.
Okay, so that so legitimacy there that he's a teacher of property managers, and so that's an amazing thing. The good news about that is that he knows, and so does Mike, all about the compliance. So we're going to talk a little bit later about liability, but one of the big deals is compliance, and this is a very detail oriented. It's a super detail oriented property management is. It's not an easy job. It's a kind of a thankless job in a lot of ways. And my wife, we own a small management company, and we really get it. We know what Mike and his team go through. And the only time you hear about from the property manager is when there's a problem, right? Or the only time we hear from the tenant is when there's a problem. So that's all property managers deal with all day long, is solving problems. And but the good news is that the property manager handles all that, takes care of it, so you can be in peace 1,500 miles away, put your head on the pillow at night and know your property is taken care of. We have some people trying to do self-management from a distance, and that you open yourself up to a lot of issues and problems. So the things we've learned and learn not to do. One of them, we talked about this with Mike, is as a property manager, don't go cheap. This is one of your biggest investments ever. You may be building a large portfolio. I think we've got some of our clients have over 10 properties that are under management, and this is your future. And these properties, and the tenants who are kind of our clients for the owners because they're paying their rent. We got to keep them happy and keep them in there. Turnover is the biggest problem that we have. I mean, the biggest expense you'd usually have, other than, that's your biggest ongoing expense, is that turnover. So the thing about value, we have clients that are going with discount property managers just to save $20 or $30 a month in fees, but they're missing out on a lot of value. As I want to let Mike talk about that, because he's given our clients a discounted rate, a 1% less than he would normally do it, because with the history, and also most of our stuff's new construction. But I want Michael to address some of that as far as the value proposition, what we bring to the table.
Sure. Thanks, Ken. Well, it's really the cheapest value add you can get, because property management fees are tax deductible. So, that means different things to different people. But when you not only have us in play, but when you have that mindset of adding value to the property, just realizing that the builder maybe and probably didn't get you to the finish line. And so don't leave yourself, a set of appliances away from the goal. Don't leave yourself, a good property manager away from really that goal. You need to cross the finish line. You've got the property, you've made it to Kenn, you've made it to the good areas, you've made it to the right builder, and just, you need to take those next steps, whether it's hiring the right professional or having the property in that like new condition with those things that tenants want.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying, if you had an older property, you want to make it as attractive as possible so that they compete against our new construction. We talked about this last month, Mike, about why is it such a big demand, and especially in some of our submarkets, and the rents are through the roof. And you pretty much nailed on the nose it's easy. It's easy for them to come into town and come to us, and within 48 hours, they can have approved application, move into a brand new house, as opposed to fighting everybody else and their brother trying to make offers on properties that, and new construction is going to take you 6 months to a year to move into. So that's one of the reasons that immigration that's continuing to come to our area is not slowing down, and they're looking for value. They're looking for value as well, and that's why our submarkets play into it. So that's really what we're looking at, is the value that you're bringing as a not only the value economically. So you pay 8% per month, but one of the things we talked about is a lot of these property managers are not manning the ship when it comes to renewals on the lease renewals and the raising of rents consistently, and the rents go up every year like the cost of living. And we see a lot of property managers, it's much easier for them to just renew the lease when it comes due without even doing a market analysis. And Mike, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, and it's just the general theme of consistency. So, you want the value, you want the consistency, and you want the professionalism. So the consistency of a lease renewal with us, your property manager that's assigned to your property, is looking at that lease every year. It comes up, we look at it a couple months ahead of time, and we look at that market. Where are the rents? Are they up? Okay, how high are they up? And what's a fair and reasonable offer to give to the tenant that the owner would be happy with too? So if a conversation needs to take place, maybe we're going to get a big jump, and you'll get that good information. Or if the tenant wants to maybe fight that increase or just discuss it, the property manager is having an intelligent conversation, with that tenant about why the rent's going up, maybe what their other options are or lack thereof. So it's just that consistency, whether it's the lease renewal or a tenant issue that needs to be kind of tracked, or a project at the home, maybe some continual maintenance that needs to be done. It's just that consistency that you should get with a manager.
Yeah, you were talking about earlier too that we are as landlords such a great position because we're perfectly positioned to be really, we control the inventory, and we have a major amount of people wanting the same property. So Chad, you had one in Alta Vista in Temple that you own it. How many applications did you get and how long of a period?
36 in 24 hours.
36 offers in 24 hours, the applications
Yes.
with
Yes.
application fees and all. Wow.
It was through Zillow, so they pay
Okay.
a one-time fee. Yeah.
Okay. All
So
right.
no, it was nothing crazy like that.
And you got
But we got
you got the best of the best, right? I mean, you could rate. That's the great thing about that when you have that many offers, you can pick the best tenant that shows up. The best applicant gets it. So you don't have to. You don't have to.
750 credit score.
Yeah, 750 FICO score and ready to go. And so yeah, that was pretty incredible. And we're also now seeing, like I said, bidding wars on the rentals. So so that's kind of where we're at, is we're in control, and that we're seeing those markets, the rental. What are you seeing, Michael, in the numbers? I think you had your numbers up in front. Let me go ahead and.
We're seeing a lot of pent up demand come out.
Yeah, and low supply, right? Okay.
Yeah, and it's like people have been really waiting for this professional market to open up in these new markets, especially Temple, Belton, in all the areas that I looked at. Three major areas that you've been very active in,
Kyle.
Temple, Belton, Liberty Hill, and Kyle. Just the demand is just increasing every single year, and it just really seems like there was a lot of pent up demand for these new homes specifically. People are jumping right on the new construction. We can definitely go over the numbers if you want to.
Yeah, we will in a bit, but let's stay in another reason why to use professional property management, and then we can get into the numbers later of what's today happening. One of the things is that when I refer a client to you, as I've done dozens of times in the last 2 months, is that there is a second accountability there. In other words, you're not only accountable to your client, your tenant, your client, our landlord, but you're accountable to me too. And we've, even over the years, there's been many times when I've had to go, hey, Mike, one of your property managers just not stepping up to the plate, or maybe the ball was dropped or whatever it is. And we're able to have that conversation as you, as the CEO, the owner of the company, and then you're able to fix the problem. And that's all it is, about communication. But if you're just one of the many people that have a rental property with a big management company you don't really have any third party accountability to what's going on. I call it managing the managers. So if you're making us look good because you're making the property look good, then that's a win-win for everybody. If it stays empty, it doesn't get leased. We have problems with maintenance contractors. The air conditioning isn't being fixed in a timely manner. Tenants aren't happy. That's all a sign of a poorly managed property. And trust me, it's easy to see out there.
And we do have a hierarchy, of accountability, I'd say. Our structure, I think it's really unique. We're flat. Our structure is pretty flat. I am the director here. I'm the broker. But our property managers and our other staff, they're experts. Our accountant, all he does is property management accounting. He only does it for us, and he's done it for a long time. The managers, they're realtors. One of them's a broker, but that's all they do. And really, they could run their own companies. They could be the leader of their own property management companies.
And you have longevity. You have longevity with these guys and gals.
Absolutely. Mike Gonzalez, he just had his 19th anniversary with us.
Wow.
19 years, not as a property manager, but with our group.
Yeah.
And that's serious. Just this year, we're going to have our 35th anniversary. Yeah. Like you said, we opened in 1986. So there's accountability. If we need to sit down, we do, but you as a landlord, you're working with someone who is empowered to make these decisions, who's had that experience themselves, who's ready to roll up their sleeves and get these projects taken care of. And it's like that with the vendors too. If we need to sit down with a vendor, we know these vendors, they're accountable to us, and they know us and respect that relationship. That means a lot when you have a tenant problem and you as a professional can sit down with the tenant and have a professional conversation about what's going on. instead of just an emotional conversation about the land from the landlord just saying, I need the rent, which is true. But providing that professional landscape, that's what makes this work. It provides accountability for everyone. It's great.
Well, not only that was the thing we were talking about is the protection of the third layer protection of liability. One of the things is that I can guarantee you that my clients and don't know the Texas property code, nor should they really care about it unless they're trying to manage it themselves, because it bears a huge amount of liability and compliance and it changes all the time. That if you don't know what you don't know, there's no excuse, because you didn't let the smoke detector back there, you let the battery go out, the house burns down, somebody gets hurt. Guess who they're going after? It's going after the owner. And so with Mike, these are things that are tested all the time. That's the protocol that we have. And also, well, we talked about that earlier about we have a property and she wasn't paying rent, and I called you, Mike, about how to get that moving. We really don't have that much problem. Of course, we got the rent thanks to some of the advice you gave me, and that's what we want. We just want them to pay the rent and be happy. But everybody has a story, so they're trying to pull on the heartstrings of my wife about, okay, we had this, I had this hardship, I had this, and when you're the property manager, you're coming there as a third-party professional saying, look, ma'am, I'm just doing my job. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to do my job. Nothing personal, right? So that's one of the insulating things that you don't have to worry. You'll never get a call from a tenant. You'll never get a call about, in the middle of the night. And so that's once again one of the piece of being able to put your head on the pillow. You have to have an 800 number, don't you? Or at least a 24-hour access, right, Michael?
We do. And, as a landlord, you have to have at least a phone number that the tenant can call, that they can leave a message that's responded to. A lot of companies, the kind of standard operation is to pass around a cell phone around the office, and you're taking it home tonight, and that's the emergency line. And it's like, well, how consistent and how reliable and how professional is that? So we do have a professional call center, and they run the tenants through a whole script of, is this our property? Do we manage it? Is it freezing outside? Has the tenant tried the breaker? Can they turn off the leaking water? Can they turn off the gas valve? Yeah. And they manage that professionally. So they actually help the tenant get the property safe. And then, of course, everything's documented. So it protects you as a landlord in the event of an insurance claim or in the event of some other liability issue. You can show in writing that you've had the team available to respond as needed.
Good. And another thing about a little bit more about the value, we talked about this, is a couple hints that we've learned over the years. Is number one, especially when the home's in a construction zone where everything's being built around it, you have to be really flexible to get somebody in there, somebody good, because they're gonna have to deal with a lot of construction issues. So I would say lower the rents during that first 6 months or whatever it takes, or take a shorter term lease or a longer term lease to get people on that summer schedule if at all possible. But one of the things we talked about right before the podcast or the meeting here was, I've seen it time and time again, and we're even guilty of it of our own properties, is we don't check those rents, and we're 200 under market because we didn't look at the rents. I'm looking at every day now because we need to know what the rents are. And I've seen a lot of properties that I've sold properties to that the property manager is still charging $1,450 when it should be $1,650. And that goes back to that discount. Why did they go with that property manager? Because it was $79 a month. Well, guess what? You're 200 under market. You're now losing money over that. Also, if they're not attentive, like reason why I had to get rid of one of them, that property stayed vacant for over 2 months at a good market. That the worst thing for our clients, the number one thing is they don't want a vacancy. And they don't want to sit on empty properties. And so that's a big problem and Mike knows this, I'm on top of it. If it's 3 weeks beyond after closing and it's not rented, we're coming up with strategies or marketing dollars to get that thing rented, because if it rents, people come back and buy more and we all prosper. If it sits empty and they're unhappy, then they don't come back. And also, if you're losing 200 bucks a month trying to save $20 a month in management fees, it's really not a very good algebra, if you know what I mean. So,
well, anybody can drive in a straight line. Mm-hmm. Right. And so when it gets curvy, You maybe need somebody with more experience, that's been there, done that, that's driven in the rain, that's been through a winter storm.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
anybody can just drive straight.
We've just been through that winter storm. So 6 months ago. So, that's another thing too, is because we work in so many metros, so many different markets, so many different cities. You and I were talking earlier about the fact that properties, the way properties are leased, the way they're rented, the way the management companies work is different in different areas. And so up north in the central Texas area, they don't use the MLS nearly as much as we do in Austin. So there's no big need to it. It's actually very antiquated the way they do it. Each property manager only leases their own properties, and that's highly inconvenient for the tenant. So we're actually breaking new ground because they can come to us and they can have a selection of a dozen properties or ones coming down the line. And that's another thing, since you're getting so many of our homes that are coming online down the line, we're lining up tenants because we were marketing that property there this month, but there's another property and it already gets leased. So we've got this other property coming next month. The tenant goes, "Oh, I don't want to move till next month anyways. I'll take that one." And we've seen getting things pre-leased. So
We
before
are seeing that. And even in the construction areas, our new duplex community in Temple, we've already got applications. I think your client
Great.
closed last Friday. It's Wednesday, and we've
Nice.
got applications. And
Good
so,
to hear.
yeah, and there's construction. They're building all the way down that street. So we're getting a little bit spoiled. But those tenants are still wanting, that finished product. Part of that conversation was, okay, the blinds are coming. I do want a refrigerator, etc. So it's not just completely scot-free, but the tenants are coming right to us.
Yeah, and one of the things we talked about was is about leasing. Up there, they do leasing differently. We're changing that paradigm. I think we're getting people and other leasing agents to actually use the MLS, which is very highly convenient. But really, we have to use Zillow, which doesn't syndicate from the MLS anymore. And a lot of property managers up there don't want to pay the $12 a week to put it in Zillow. So I don't like Zillow personally because of the way they're stealing all the business from us brokers. But the bottom line, if it's a tool and people are using it, and I got to pay $12 to get in front of them and other people aren't, that's just more exposure. The other thing is we have one of the property managers up there was, doing a good job for our client there, but she wanted to lease, my client wanted to lease a home in Austin. And she said, so she signed up with the same agent. And I said, "Oh, excuse me, but she's not part of the Austin Board of Realtors. She doesn't, and she needs to join it if she's going to be doing leasing down here, because 90% of the properties get leased by other leasing agents, not like it is in her hometown." And she switched over to you guys, by the way, because she realized that we need to have every possible exposure to get that property leased. And if you're not in the MLS here in Austin, you're missing the boat.
Well, and it goes towards the accountability point, Ken, where the realtors know if we have a listing, if it says it's available, it's accurate, it's true, it's real, and they can interface with us and they can ask us questions and they can tell their client, their lease client, you can count on this company. This is a professional, legitimate company, and you can put all your information online, where there's so many risks now with fraud and identity theft and everything. And so the agents trust us, the brokers trust us, and the tenants, it's not just easy, but they have faith in the process that we will keep their information safe and treat them respectfully. One of our best tactics, especially in Temple, has just been a text right now for information, just a writer on the sign that says you can text right now, and it goes to one of our agents, and they can just talk to somebody about the house in text. It's not a robot, it's not a website, it's just you can text somebody.
That's great.
Talk
Yeah.
to these people and get at least. Zillow, they did kick all the agents out. You can list there for an extra fee. And I think Zillow deserves it. If you haven't seen the news, they're laying off 25% of their workforce. That was announced last night.
So sad. All right. Well,
so list them on Zillow, do them a favor.
yeah. And Zillow actually stopped doing their offers. Zillow offers, they got is algorithms don't always work. This is a people business and it's a relationship business. And I know a lot of my high tech people think that they can do everything with their technology. It's still, you're shaking hands with a tenant, you're nurturing that tenant, you want them to stay in the property, you're taking care of the broken pipe or air conditioning unit in a timely manner. And it's just, it's very time consuming. And I always tell my clients that are in the Bay Area or West Coast, East Coast, that are probably software or doctors or whatever. And I'm saying, how much do you make an hour? When you figure your hourly rate, most of them make between $100 to $200 per hour. As I'm going, well, how much is your time worth if you're trying to deal with this stuff from a distance or dealing with a property manager that's not doing their job? And it's like, it's definitely worth to pay the right fee for. I don't go to a discount dentist. I don't go to if I have surgery, I'm not going to go to a discount surgeon. Please don't go to a discount property manager just because you want to save a few bucks, because in the long run, it'll cost you. So, Chad, do you have anything to say about what your properties have been doing and how, I mean, you've been rolling and going on your investments, how your tenants are doing?
Yeah,
and all that?
yeah, I've have 3 that I've leased this year, and they all had multiple offers within
Oh.
24 hours.
And you're getting
Everyone's
top,
700 plus score.
and you're talking getting much more rent than you thought you were going to get when we first started this process, right? So I just
Absolutely.
closed a house in Northgate, and Mike is managing most of the. I think we have a dozen properties in that area. We leased our property. It's 1,550 square foot, 4-bedroom, 2-bath. I paid $191 for it, and we just leased it for $1,825. And we had at least 3 weeks before closing because we knew it was coming up. So that may not be the norm, but we are seeing that the rent for Chad's 1,200. What did you get for your 1,260 square foot South Point house?
We had 2 that we leased out, new construction, and 1,266 square foot, 1,625.
And how much did you pay for it?
167.
There's that 1% rule. We don't. It's hard anywhere in the
Yeah.
nation to find the 1% rule unless you're down in the areas that third class properties, or
Yeah.
out in St. Louis and in the ghetto of St. Louis or something, or Buffalo, New York. But that's the whole thing. Brand new construction for $167,000. Now those prices aren't there anymore because you locked that price in a while ago. But where else in the nation can you get a brand new house for under 200,000 or under 220? It's still happening in some of our submarkets, but that's quickly going away. The wave of appreciation is headed out that way. So I know Mike's got some numbers. We're going to talk about that right now. This is a November 3rd, 2021, and just talk about a few of those exciting numbers that you shared with me the other day.
Well, Ken, when we look at the numbers, it's like you're really seeing a market expansion right in front of your face. Some of these areas the data has kind of been driven by us. For example, in Temple and Belton last year in 2020, there was only 8 leases registered in the Austin MLS. And now there's been 37 this year. So it not only represents a market kind of unfolding, but it also represents new players in the game. These clients were not in the game last year. So we're not only seeing new inventory, but we're seeing the market open up to that. And just like Chad mentioned, with all these multiple offers, it's like people were just waiting for this to happen. They were just like they had just been sitting, praying, waiting for a property to become available they could call home. Some of the biggest expansions and most notable, I think, were in Liberty Hill, because specifically in 2019, Liberty Hill was an established MLS market. So if you had a lease property in Liberty Hill, you were most likely going to put it in the MLS. In Temple in 2019, that wasn't the case. So in Liberty Hill, which is just north of Austin, in 2019, there were 63 leases. That was from January 1 to October 24th. That's when I ran the data. 63 leases just total. And the average was $1.01 a square foot. And to October 24th this year to date, there's been 260 leases. I mean, that's 4 times the amount of activity. And so just that one market right there, you can really see it's a real opening and unfolding and market.
And how many are available right now?
Right now, there's 25 in Liberty Hill available.
So it's basically a 1 month supply or less than 1 month supply.
Yeah, it's about the same number that were leased in the last quarter of last year. So it's about 2 months of inventory maybe. And 8 of those 25 homes are brand new. And so that's notable. I mean, that's a big chunk of the inventory that are brand new homes. So, you should be proud. You have an advantage if you have a brand new home. But in Liberty Hill, you'd be competing with 8. And if you don't have a brand new home, well, you've got all the other inventory that's the same age. And then you've got this new inventory. So it's a real challenge to keep your inventory, your home in a like new condition, to really emphasize the positive components of the home. In Kyle, we had some really, really good rent expansion there. In 2019, the average price per square foot was 95 cents. And that was for 392 leases done in Kyle. And this year, and I know the numbers are boring, but there's just been big expansion. We've done the market. There's been 455 leases at $1.11 a square foot. And it just that, with our benchmark, when we were doing our projections 18 months ago, our benchmark was around $1 a square foot. And so we've exceeded that in all of our areas. And all of our clients have been really impressed and surprised, with the rent and how high we could do it and how quickly.
Yeah, and Caseta Ranch, you guys were very surprised. I think we're getting 1,300 square feet. We're getting close to $2,000 a month.
That is one of the higher prices per square foot that we manage for the brand new inventory. Around there, we hit around $1.20 a square foot, which is just when you're benchmarking around $1 and you can get 20% more.
Well, that was in the stats for last year. The rents are up 20% in Austin from last year. So that's about the right number, right? So up 20%. And that's the highest it's ever been. Because rents, even though the prices have been going exponential, rents usually don't keep up pace, but a 20% increase in rent is probably not a bad deal.
Yeah, and I think that we're seeing a shift in the product offering as well, not just newer homes, but the landlords that are really going the extra mile in providing that finished product where a tenant can stay if they've got kids that are in the football team or in band, or they want to stay there and raise their family. They have every reason to do so when the home is updated, upgraded. There's creature comforts. They can have friends and family over and they treat it like their own home. And these tenants, most of them are doing very, very well. During COVID, we all had our responsibilities and the tenants did their part during COVID, paying their rent, taking care of the homes and working with us. And so we were able to grow and do very well, since COVID and all that. And that it's mostly falls on the tenants, that we have fantastic tenants in this area.
Well, you keep them happy, they stay. So
and there's a relationship.
About relationship, and I'm like I've had property managers who look good, talk good, and then I get reports back from the tenant or from the owner saying this person's a little passive aggressive, or they don't ever get back to me, and all of a sudden then I start hearing it, and I really experience it for myself. I'm like, oh, that looks bad on everybody, and like I said, you have to have a certain temperament to do this job. And you got to be firm, but compassionate at the same time, but you got to be firm and you got to every rule has to be the same. You can't have different rules for different tenants and that kind of thing, and landlords too.
Well, there's so many ways to mess up just from day one.
Yeah.
From you have an emotional support animal on the application. How do you deal with that? You've got a service animal. Do you even know the difference? Do you have the right kind of insurance for the property?
Yeah, you're telling you could even get hit up for discrimination if you didn't allow the service animal to be a member of the family, right?
Yes. There are rules, and you're buying a brand new home maybe, and it's a surprise. You might need to do some code work. And why? Well, the property code says that for rentals, I'm not sure if you can see it in the background, my lock set over there, but you have to have special locks for rentals. You have to have door viewers in the exterior doors. And so from day one, if you don't have these compliance items done, you're out of line. And that every day, there's those rules of how you treat the tenant, how you disclose the property, any issues with the property. Starting January 1, sellers and landlords will be required to disclose any flooding at the property that caused any damage to tenants or prospective buyers. If the property is ever flooded, you've got to give a disclosure. If your property manager can't keep up on rents and those kinds of normal things, how are they going to know what kind of disclosures are needed and how to keep you protected as a landlord?
Okay, cool. Well, it's been a really good conversation, Mike,
It is.
and thanks for joining us, Chad. We learned a lot of things that are important about value, accountability, liability, protection, and how to strategize on the tenants, the leasing, all that kind of stuff that comes into play when you're a landlord. The bottom line is that this is a major investment. It could be $250,000. If you own multiple properties, it could be several $1,000,000 worth of properties. And this is a huge asset that needs to be taken care of, preserved, and protected. So when it's time to dispose of it or heir it to your kids, you got something that you're proud of and that is economically viable. And that's what good property management does.
And
Right.
you've got a process, Ken. You have a process for your properties, for your clients, and how you structure all this. And so my last words would be to trust the process, trust Ken's process.
Great. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Chad.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. I think it's
you.
been real helpful. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.